I love the 28 Days Later franchise, and recently just seen 28 Years Later, which I really enjoyed. Even if the final scene left me kinda shocked and very confused. But today we're looking at the middle child of the franchise, 2007's 28 Weeks Later, and specifically the amazing opening scene. There's no one particular part of this scene I want to hone in on specifically. I just like it so much, and I'm so inspired by how well it shows off the medium of horror films that I just wanted to showcase it. We're introduced to Don, played by the talented Robert Carlyle, and his wife Alice, who are hiding out from the rage virus in a dark and dingy old English farmhouse with a group of other survivors. We've seen in the previous movie that the virus has overrun most of mainland Britain, so we immediately know there's a constant looming threat hanging over this group. We learn that Don and Alice have kids that were out of the country when the outbreak began, and they ponder what has come of them and if they'll ever see them again.
Our children are safe, aren't they?
I feel like this is a really important aspect to include in the story, as it makes us empathise with these two and adds a layer of humanity and intrigue that other horror movies would choose to overlook. The group of ragtag survivors are trying to have a candlelit dinner, trying to bring a sense of normality into a world that definitely isn't normal anymore. This is just one example of what I think the 28 Days franchise does so well, which is conveying what a realistic viral outbreak of this scale would look like. It probably wouldn't look like a gun-toting, seemingly invincible badass quipping their way through the horde while they mow down an uncountable amount of infected. If something like the rage virus were ever to break out, it probably would look like pockets of survivors quietly trying to live their lives in as normal of a way as possible, trying to bring some stability, predictability and hominess into the world in an effort to help them cope. The group's dinner is interrupted by a knock at the door from a lone child who is looking for somewhere to hide from any potential infected that may be around. This is where we see the first glimpse of Don's morally grey decision making, as he is reluctant to let the child into the house in case it jeopardizes their position.
Wait. Don't know who's in there.
Don, it's a kid!
Alice doesn't have to think twice about this and decides to let the kid in. This is actually when we first realise that the scene is taking place during the day and not at night, just because of how dark the interior of the sealed up house is. This doesn't change much about how the scene plays out, but it's just another example of how the movie keeps you constantly guessing about what direction it's going in next. All hell breaks loose when it's revealed that the kid has inadvertently lured infected to their stronghold and they force their way in, breaking up their dinner party before it really had a chance to get started. This sends the group of survivors into a frenzy, all heading in different directions throughout the house in an attempt to avoid the infected. The chaos in the house is shown in such an overwhelming, messy and scrappy kind of way, and it really shows you that the peace and tranquility of this world can be interrupted and sent into turmoil in an instant. Most of Don's friends are taken out in the house or at the barn, but he, Alice and the kid manage to escape briefly upstairs to a bedroom. The group of three get cornered upstairs with Don on one side of the room and Alice and the kid on the other. In between them is an infected. Now, there's a few things you might expect to happen here. Will another member of the group swoop in at the last second and save the day? Will the infected attack a member of the trio, causing the others to either flee in terror or try to fight it off? Will Don go on the attack with his paternal instinct kicking in and try to stop the infected, giving the others a chance to get away? No, this is where the most shocking moment from this and many other horror movies occurs. In an amazing twist on the tropes of the genre, none of the above happen. Don decides to save himself, closing the door behind him as he steps into the adjacent bathroom. He leaves Alice and the kid to die. I just adore this decision. It's so unexpected. We as the audience are immediately conflicted on if we should hate Don for what he's done, or if we agree that it's every man for himself in a world like this. This is such a great discussion point for anyone watching the film. We can try to put ourselves in Don's shoes and come up with a decision on what we would have done if we were in this scenario. The lines of the morally grey are further blurred by the fact that the couple discusses their own children earlier on, so this may have been the reason Don chose to save himself. Better to have at least one parent alive for the kids to come back to, right? Or maybe he's just a terrible, selfish, awful person. Having so many mixed emotions about our protagonist so early on sets 28 Weeks Later up to be a really unique viewing experience for the audience. Don escapes out the bathroom window and gives one last fleeting glance back at his doomed wife. What follows next is the most memorable sequence from the movie. In a series of absolutely breathtaking shots, Don runs from the house through a field, all while being closely trailed by infected. The sequence is backed by an epic rendition of the song In the House in a Heartbeat, which returns from the first movie, but on an even grander scale here. Now, this running through the field sequence has been broken down and picked apart hundreds of times, so there's nothing I can really add to it here. It's just one of those moments that gets me hyped and makes me want to dive deeper into the art of filmmaking every time I see it. It just sells Don's fear and panic so well while also getting over the threat that the infected pose, especially in large numbers. It's also unique as there's a small part of you that wants Don to get caught and torn up by the infected given what we've just seen him do. Don sails off up the river, doing what any of us would do if we had just gone through what he has, which is curse up a storm.
Hush it. Hush it. Hush it. Hush it.
From start to finish, this scene just nails the art of making a great horror film. From visual storytelling, blood and guts, unexpected character moments, and an amazing suspenseful score. What can I say? 28 Weeks Later does everything right in my mind, and I just wanted a chance to speak about it. Have you seen 28 Weeks Later? And if so, do you love the opening scene as much as I do? If you haven't, now's the best time to catch up on the series as a whole, as the original creator, Danny Boyle, is back at the helm to launch a new trilogy, starting with the recently released 28 Years Later. Thanks so much for listening to me gush about this scene. That just leaves one more question. What would you do if you were in Don's position and had to make that choice? As always, I'll see you on the next one.